Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be sharing another game between Mark Taimanov and Robert James Fischer. And this is their third round in the sixth round match between them in the 1971 candidates match. And in this saga, I have already talked about 4 games, and this is the 5th game, and I hope that you'll find this extremely helpful. So Taimanov starts off with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. The King's Indian. So Robert James Fischer, or Bobby Fischer, most people call, likes to play the King's Indian a lot, and he played the King's Indian twice in this 6th round match, so it was quite popular. And here Taimanov decides to go for the traditional line, which is knight f3 and then bishop e2, which allows Fischer to play e5. And now castles. Knight c6, d5, knight e7, mainline King's Indian, bishop d2, knight e8, rook c1, f5. And here, Taimanov plays queen b3, and after b6, which is an extremely standard motif to guard these squares and make sure that recapturing with a bishop is an option, though capturing with the pawn is most likely the case. And in this game, Fischer does capture with the pawn. Knight g5, knight f6, f4, h6, and here Taimanov decides to play f takes e5, which is extremely sharp, but does allow Fischer to get his center pawns. However, what was the best move for Taimanov in this position? Take your time. Okay, if you found it, congratulations. This move isn't too hard, but it still needs intuitive understanding. Here, Taimanov plays knight e6, which looks counterintuitive at first because it seems like this pawn is going to be lost. But here's where Fischer has a problem. Fischer needs to prevent knight d5, otherwise his position would collapse, and he must. And for example, knight d5, he must take. Then white recaptures with the pawn, gets these two extremely strong pawns if you can't visualize it, and the c file will also be open. Thus, Fischer here has to play c6. And here, Taimanov will be able to play rook cd1, which threatens the d pawn. So anytime the d pawn is weak, that would spell disaster. For example, something after queen c8, and now all of a sudden you can see how weak the d6 pawn is. And now white has many moves that can work, so this isn't even a good continuation. One such way is doing this, and that is quite reasonable because you're making white double his pawns and you're also protecting your own. So back here, Taimanov decides to play f takes c5. After d takes c5, c5, knight f takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5. Oh yeah, before here, knight takes d5 wasn't the best move. It was best to take the pawn first and then take, and then white will play the amazing move rook c6. Although this knight is on prise, white threatens bishop c4, and the rook guards the e6 square for the bishop. But knight takes d5 does not make that big of a difference, as you will see in the game, because it transposes, and rook c6. And here Fischer plays king h8. And here Taimanov played knight f3, which is quite passive, but can you find a much more active move for white in this position? Okay, in this position, Taimanov had the amazing move queen h3. So this pins. Firstly, Taimanov is threatening rook h6 with a forced mate. And now, all of a sudden, black's extra pawn, as you can see, black has 5 pawns and white has 4. But now white has so much more counterplay, and this position becomes quite a bit harder to play. However, white doesn't need to do this, and white just plays knight f3, but this gives black the extra pawn advantage. And after bishop b7, Taimanov makes yet another mistake. Here Taimanov plays rook g6, and the best move here is to sacrifice the exchange. And the main reason behind it is now white gets active pieces and black is better. But this was white's best chance for draws because now the e5 pawn's on prise. Bishop c4 is coming. There's always queen threats coming through. So black still needs to be extremely careful. But nevertheless, it's understandable why Taimanov decided to play rook g6 in this position. Knight f4, which is not the best move by Fischer. what was the best move by Fischer in this position? Like, what could have Fischer played better? Take your time. Okay, if you found the move f4, you are right. Now, a lot of people have the first intuition playing king h7 here, which is good, but it's not the best move. And the reason because of this is because of knight takes e5. And this move, now if black takes a knight on e5, there's rook takes h6 threats. So white should be fine here, and black's advantage hasn't gone up by much. However, here, if f4 is played, although this looks like it weakens the e4 square and the computer doesn't realize it, however, this completely shuts down all of white's play, and now white has nothing that he can do now. So this position is extremely good. But then something after bishop d3, which looks extremely natural, just allows black a winning position. So knight and 4 was played in the game. Bishop takes, e takes, rook d1, queen e7, rook e6, queen c5 check, king f1, rook a d8, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, queen a4, queen c1 check, king f2, bishop f8. So far so good, and black is slowly converting his advantage. b4 to stop bishop c5, bishop e4. Now bishop e4 was not the best move by Fischer, but it's still winning. However, the best move here for Fischer was playing bishop d5. And the whole point of this is just to attack the rook first, and the rook does not have anywhere good to go. And that is what black could have used to win this game. After rook e5, then black can play bishop e4, and this is a lot stronger because now they're bishop g7 with tempo and then threatening d4 square, and well, this knight's gonna get traded off soon. However, here Fischer plays bishop e4 immediately, which allows rook e8, but rook e8 is not that good of a move because now Fischer is able to play bishop c6. That's a fork, and white is gonna need to trade bishop for rook and bishop for queen, and that will give Fischer a much better position. Queen c6, queen e6, rook d8, queen f6, rook c8, so trying his best, but queen e7 threatens this nasty move queen e3, so king f1, king h7, now the bishop's free, so after knight d4, bishop g7. And here Taimanov made another mistake, knight d5. But there wasn't really anything to play after this anyways. If white plays knight f5, that's even worse because something like queen e7 just forks this. After knight b5, bishop e5 comes in. And after a3, now the c7 pawn's protected, and queen d7 simply attacks both of these pieces, making sure the bishop's threatened. So after rook a8, f3. Make sure the bishop cannot attack both. This is overloading. G takes f3, bishop takes h2. Now black has made his own passed pawns. Whoops. Now black has made his own passed pawn, and now this position is completely winning. There's no way for black to lose practically. King g7, and here Fischer finds an extremely good exchanging idea. So this will be your last puzzle because it's an actual tactic. So take your time and hope you spot the answer. Okay, so what did Fischer do to finish it off? Fischer played queen g7, and this is a complete finisher. Firstly, it's a check. King h1, mate. King h3, mate. King f2 or f1, queen g1, mate. So the only move that white can play is king d2, which is what played in the game. But after queen e5 check, here Taimanov just had to resign. So why is Taimanov completely losing here? Firstly, king g1, queen takes e2. Knight is threatened, pawn is threatened. If knight d4, queen e3 check forks the knight. Otherwise, where does the knight go? So it's game over because after knight takes c7, there's queen takes f3. This attacks the rook, so the knight cannot move. And there's also queen g3, queen g3 threats, and that threatens the knight too. So this is completely busted for white. And after something like rook a7, just king g6, and black is completely winning. So after the move queen e5 here, Taimanov just had to resign. So a beautiful performance by Robert James Fischer in this game, and how he was able to spot this extremely good bishop c6 tactics and multiple blunders and mistakes from both players in this game. However, rushing all the way back, to the beginning, let's go through the summary of the motifs. So it was normal King's Indian, and here Taimanov rushes with an early Queen B3, which is an extremely good motif. Now B6, this is a motif called prophylaxis, and the main point of this is to make sure that the bishop won't be overloaded in the future, so you're just preventing anything in the future beforehand. And here, it doesn't matter what you try. Here, f takes c5 isn't the best move. The best move is knight e6, because positionally, this looks horrible, but if you calculate deeply enough and you realize that this is a weakness after knight d5, white would be better here. Next, after Fischer wins the pawn, here, the killer move, queen h3, could have allowed Taimanov tons of chances. And finally, later on in the game, after Fischer was up the pawn, here, Taimanov should have just went for the exchange sacrifice, and in this game, hope for the best, where the knight comes to e5, bishop attacking the rook, bishop could come back, queen can try to invade these squares, and basically white has many chances still. And after he missed the chance, knight f4 gave some advantage, although here f4 was a killer blow, and here there's practically nothing that white can do. And finally, now white is up a pawn, and Fischer never gave any chances and forced Taimanov to play a bad move, rook e8, which after bishop c6, the fork completely sealed the game. So I hope that you learned something extremely instructive in this game. I hope you liked it a lot, and please consider subscribing to me on YouTube, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!